All right, so if you guys can tell me your names.
I'm Ebony.
I'm Melody.
Wonderful, nice to meet you. And where are you guys arriving from today?
I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
I grew up in Cranston, Rhode Island, but now residing in Providence, Rhode Island.
All right. And where would you guys say home is for you?
I know that's always the question,
yeah.
right? Where is home? Where is home? I would say it's definitely not a geographic location. It's more of a felt sense when you're in the right space with the right folks. Yeah.
When you asked that question, I'm just going to go with the first thing that popped up, and it was the kitchen. And to echo off of what Ebony said, it wouldn't just be any kitchen, but there's definitely something about the kitchen and then the right kitchen with the right community and the foods and what happens in the kitchen.
Who are the storytellers or oral historians or visual archivists in your family?
My grandmother. Definitely my grandmother, for sure. I don't think, everyone jokes about like grandmama sayings, but that's a very real and lived experience of the things that you learn through grandma's words, and sometimes, and not always the words, it's in the gestures and the movements and the body.
I would say my grandmother in the passing down of like the ritual, but then my mom and my aunt were the photographers. Like everything is captured in photos. And Steffi said it earlier, there were things that she grew up with that just felt like that's what everyone's family does. And when a friend came over once and was like, you all have a lot of pictures up in your house. You take a lot of pictures. And it was like, doesn't everybody do that? But now that my grandmother has passed, I love seeing she labeled everything and like every memory is written. And there's like messages that we're still finding of like little notes because while she was like always like organizing and like saving it.
Mm-hmm. How does it feel like when you find those messages? Like in those, like when those things are popping up.
I have a memory. Yeah, my mom, I can't remember, it was in the past year and I can't remember which holiday it was, but she, my grandmother has been gone since like the early 2000s. So it's been a really long time. So to get something with my grandmother's handwriting on it, it has been a long time. And my mom had a card, she's like, that's from Grandma Camilla. So instantly, tears come. And then she had found an article, and she wrote on it, she's like, for Marlene, my daughter, and please, here are 2 copies. I want you to give a copy to each of your girls, love mom. And it was just such a my grandmother's type of thing for us to know. And it just, in that moment, I was like, I really needed this message from my grandmother today. So, I'm sorry, I didn't answer the question.
No, you did. You did.
It brings me back to like feeling her in the space, and while I know she's always with me, those are like irreplaceable heirlooms that just like remind me of her magic and so much of like who she is, which is absolutely in me. Like I love when someone calls me Grandma Camilla.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Very much. Very much the Italian grandmother you are.
here for it.
But oddly, and I think it kind of like shapes this conversation because we were out there looking at the pictures and the photos, and Mel was recalling something with her grandmother, and who calls my grandmother on the phone. I'm like, look, Mel, it's a grandmother heard you and called in this moment, like just a few minutes ago. So I really do think grandmothers are magical. Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting emotional. All right. And then the last question is, what is one takeaway from your In Ernest experience? I know, right?
I think the ancestral messages, when they come through, if we are attuned and we are really like open to receiving and hearing and listening and allowing those messages to work through us, then we'll all continue to stay aligned, right? Like individually, in community, and that's all we have to do, really, is just stay tuned, you know?
I know you said one, but I have two.
Whatever you want. Whatever you want. Go on and on.
One, as soon as I drive home tomorrow, I have a box. When I lived in New York, my grandma wrote me handwritten letters. I was saying this to Ebony. The first thing I'm going to do is get that box and reread them. It's been a long time. And then it's been a calling for a long time, but Steffi and the magic that is Steffi and the way she creates spaces and inspires you in ways that you can't even begin to put words to, really reminding me the importance of like knowing my family story, especially with those who are still with us. Just really wanting to ask more questions.
Awesome. That was it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I like to just keep listening. I'm like sitting here and I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna start right now. It's wild because the woman who was before you had mentioned the kitchen table. The same thing, but more so cooking. So it's really interesting, like the overlap of like how we're all connected in these ways. So
Yeah. Everything was the kitchen.
yeah, the kitchen.
For
yeah.
us.
Same.
Yeah, I don't think that. I don't know that shifts. Maybe now with families not being so like the kitchen is the main. I know it's the living room too, but it's also the kitchen, and that probably shifts with like where people are right now.
Also interesting because for me, we were only allowed in the living room on holidays.
It doesn't sound wrong. That sounds like that's part of my life.
And as a child, like this is like funny, but like we didn't sit in the living room if it wasn't a special occasion. And I remember my mom and I, it would be like an act of rebellion when my dad wasn't home. We're like, we're gonna go sit in the living room, and like the garage door open, and we'd be like, and like dad would walk in, or like I would like walk through the living room. Or like it was like such a thing because that was like, So just even now when I go to my mom's house and all those rules are like, they're kind of gone. It's still like, wait, we're sitting in the living room?
Right? Yeah.